Every summer between July and August, Senegal is cursed with endless downpours.
Ces saletés-là, je ne peux pas, comment tu peux vivre avec ces saletés-là? Je ne sais pas comment. Même les animaux ne peuvent pas vivre avec ces genres de trucs-là.
The town of Kaolack is paralyzed. With the rain and the heat come mosquitoes and diseases. Entire neighborhoods empty. Hassan is preparing to leave his home. He's come to collect some of his things.
Body 5 heures, jëm 6 heures, ci la taw 9 heures, 10 heures ci guddi la doog a arrêté. Mais lii yëpp ci la fees del. Ñeenti at yu ci ne.
One last prayer before leaving town.
Su ko defee nag ma julli fii. Julli gi comme nag am naa pas-pas bi rek. Suñu borom mën na ko.
In Senegal, very few people own a car. In order to leave town, there is only one option: the bus station and its flotilla of run-down wheels, all lined up like at a racetrack. Bush taxis and minibuses are in fierce competition, even more so during this seasonal exodus. Some are not close to leaving. The travellers are not out of the woods yet. The route that they face is full of obstacles, linking Kaolack to the town of Ziguinchor in Casamance. The bush taxis and minibuses race, taking every risk. On this route, mechanics are put to the test, and the drivers must pay for it. Another major obstacle: Gambia, a small country that stands as a barrier in the middle of Senegal. To cross the border, the passengers will have to be patient. Senegal is a country of sweat. Here, survival is earned.
This is my walk.
At Kaolack bus station, the minibuses are nicknamed fast coaches, but this is more an intention than a reality. This family can confirm it. The driver is in no rush to leave. Everyone is taking their time. However, their departure is not a given. €6 is 2 days' worth of salary, so after 4 hours of waiting, certain travellers inevitably become frustrated. Passengers keen to get on the road head instead for the bush taxis. With them, the travellers are sure to leave within the hour. Knowing when they will arrive, however, is another story.
C'est difficile parce que c'est un peu fatigant vu la distance et l'état des routes.
For Buna, the driver, each journey is a challenge to get there as quickly as possible. At the wheel of his old Peugeot brake, he cruises as if he owns the road. Not very reassuring for his passengers, especially when they see these wrecks.
Chaque jour ak lii la chaque jour oto yi dañ fiy mbëkk oto gars yi affaire yi day jëkk ba saak rek traversé wala ngay daw ba saak nag ñëw rek jëkk rek jéggi la nga mbëkk ko yàlla.
In Senegal, speed kills more than disease. Here, they really drive without safeguards, in all senses of the word.
Ici, c'est pas bon. Ça, là, ça, c'est trop long. Ici, c'est petit. Si tu as descendu les pneus là.
Four days after his accident, Adama is still waiting for assistance. He and his assistant went to the nearest clinic to be treated. Hitchhiking, since then, they have been left to their own devices.
On doit chercher les grilles pour enlever les camions là. Il m'a dit que c'est 2 500 000. Ça c'est tout.
Until his boss brings together the sum, the wait is likely to drag on for these road castaways. Meanwhile, Buna and his taxi tear up the road. He's eager to arrive in Casamance before nightfall. At the same time, the minibus finally leaves Kaolack bus station. It too is racing against the clock. But the journey is hardly underway and the engine is already showing signs of fatigue. Without hesitation, Bala lifts the hood. The radiator let out a geyser of boiling water. Not knowing what is wrong, it's up to the miracle medicine. The driver cools his vehicle, feeding it water, and continues on his way with his fingers crossed. Nothing seems to quench the thirst of the old minibus. The engine is still overheating. The risk, they might have to give up. The driver is forced to stop every 10 kilometers. Not great for his passengers. To find a garage in the bush, Bala makes a detour. The place may not look it, but it is home to a mechanic. One quick glance is enough for this vehicular healer to locate the problem.
waaw soo bi maanaam oto bi dafay tàng day diis. diis bi muy def li ngay accélérer du ko dox après moteur bi day tàng.
The roadside serves as the operating room. The brakes must be completely dismantled. The passengers wonder if it would have been better to just take a bush taxi. The operation proves to be difficult. Rust has soldered the metal. After much struggle, the brakes eventually come off. When they are put back, it is 4 o'clock. They are halfway along their journey. Meanwhile, the taxi has secured its lead, but it still has a major obstacle to overcome. Cross Gambia and its river. This long line of trucks is not a good sign. Gambia, a tiny strip of land 40 kilometers wide, right in the middle of Senegal. There is a route that bypasses this obstacle, but it's endless and swarming with bandits. So the Senegalese have no choice. They must cross Gambia, but first they must pay the border guards' racket.
I see, I'm going to Lee, Bogo Befe, Danye Japo. Yeah, Danye Tea, Rodem.
The truckers who supply Casamance are the main victims of this absurd situation.
À cause du bac, voilà. Il y en a 2 bacs. Les gros bacs avec les petits bacs. mais gros bag bi benn bi dafa paanoon temps yi moo tax affaire yi xaw a saturé quoi.
mën na dem une semaine mën na kopp sax ba 10 jours ah.
Il faut même faire plus. Il faut juste sortir de l'argent pour que la voiture prenne une meilleure position quoi, au niveau du rang. Sinon, tu risques de rester derrière. En quelque sorte, on est obligé d'acheter son passage, quoi, au fait.
Unable to pay the bribe, Buna's passengers are condemned to wait. It's even more frustrating that during this time the minibus is catching up. Arriving at the border, the minibus does not queue up. It drives directly onto the ferry. Perhaps this is why the Senegalese call them fast coaches. The crossing takes 30 minutes, moving with the current. After the mishaps on the road, the river is a welcome interlude. Sometimes Senegal closes its borders in protest of the exorbitant tolls imposed by Gambia. It's always the passengers who pay the price. In the end, Bala, the minibus driver, and his passengers do rather well. They've only travelled for 12 hours to cover the 280 kilometres which separate Kaolack and Ziguinchor. Buna's taxi arrives 5 hours later. Like in children's stories, the first to leave end up being the last to arrive. Except that here, the moral of the story is different. In the race for survival that the Senegalese must endure, there are only losers. Casamance is poor. Formerly Senegal's breadbasket, today it experiences massive scarcity. Climate change, poor soil management, so many explanations that escape the rice pickers. All they know is that their land is low and that their village is very far from Dakar, the capital of Senegal.
C'est Mariam. Ça, je suis là le temps.
A debt that she will pay in pain. And the task is enormous for this pregnant woman. At the end of the day, even after 10 hours of work, the women still find the strength to tease each other. The day, however, is far from being over for these workers. Amy supports 15 people, and for this whole family, rice is the main staple. Except that the rice is hardly sprouting. There will be no harvest for weeks. Luckily, travelling merchants pass through. Well, when they manage to reach the village. This old berlier is more than half a century old, but Ablé, its driver, Samba, his assistant, and Sula, the owner, are pretty confident in their old machine. It's 7 o'clock in the morning.
Get up.
Their route is only 60 kilometers long. But in this season, it is a mud track. Their goal? To try and get to Luma Market, which takes place once a week. And all the better for them that there are no glitches, because the service is not very profitable. If they miss Luma Market, they will have made the journey for nothing. But whatever happens, and even if it means wasting time, they respect rule number 1 of the bush: mutual aid. This biker is stuck, carrying his 100 litres of palm oil. This improvised taxi also helps out those walking to the market on foot. They've hardly got going again when Ablay feels the truck leaning to the right. But a bad surprise awaits them. One of the nuts won't loosen. Tough luck. They must hurry. At any moment, a storm could make the route impassable. The truck has been travelling for almost 10 hours. Having to idle along, the three men watch time slip through their fingers. The market will take place the following morning, and they're not sure they'll make it. With its back tyre flat, the truck is much more difficult to manoeuvre. The crew's fears have been realised. The truck is stuck in a hole. For some reason, they had left without a shovel. Digging by hand, the task proves impossible. Scylla decides to go on foot and search for help. 3 kilometers later, finally, a house. Scylla thinks they're out of trouble, but the shovel does not make much of a difference. Now, a mud trap is closing in on them. Luma village and its market seem unreachable. "300 kilometers to the west, on Senegal's Casamance beach, everyone fights for survival. For those who find land too cruel, there is the sea, a wide open horizon, provided that you have the courage to face it. Every day there are hundreds that want to board the fishermen's boats. But on this morning, very few are eager to go out to sea. The weather predicts the worst.
Quand le vent rentre là-bas seulement, les pirogues ne peuvent pas partir. Quand les pirogues vont forcer partir, non, ça ne sera pas bon. J'ai vu les gens qui sont en train de décéder au bord de la mer ici.
Last month, 7 sailors did not return. Big boats can carry almost 20 seamen and can bring back up to 7 tons of fish. Suleiman is the youngest member of the crew. At 14 years old, in principle, he's not allowed to work.
Il est obligé de travailler, tu vois. Ici, il y a beaucoup de gens qui sont en train de travailler dans un moyen âge.
man sama yaay nekkul fi ak sama pap loolu moo tax may dem géej pour ma am xaalis après jàppale sama rak ko métier dem géej.
Once they're in open sea, in order to attract the fish, the sailors drive away bad spirits. On board, there are only 2 life jackets that the men must take turns sharing. So, once again, they appeal to magic. The sailors rub their bodies with a protective potion made by a witch doctor. Navigation is done without a compass or a GPS, just pure guesswork. After 4 hours at sea, like an oracle, the captain sees the sardines. In reality, he's reading the surface of the ocean, a reflection, a ripple. The fish are there. Now it's time for Suleiman to prove his worth. He must jump into the water and make as much noise as possible with his hands and feet in order to stop the sardines escaping the net. Another sailor joins Suleiman. If he ever gets tired, he can always cling to his life jacket. The noise is supposed to scare the sardines. In the water for over an hour, the two swimmers are reaching the limits of their strength. All that work for this. The net contains only a few sardines. On board the boat, disappointment.
Il n'y a pas de poisson, quoi. Le filet s'est échappé. Les poissons nous ont échappé, mais on va jeter une autre fois.
They must move on. Further off, the captain's eye scrutinises the surface of the ocean. Paid by commission, none of the sailors can afford to return empty-handed. Back in the bush, the truckers are still at work. To lighten their truck, they unload their entire load of rice, but nothing works. But there aren't many rocks around. Scylla goes looking for wood. The day passes and the likelihood of getting to the market on time is less and less.
loolu moo ma métti loolu kese moo ma métti parce que lu ma mën a jaay sama bagage yi de beneen oto bi ñëw na di ko jaay lan laa jaay léegi dama mën a yóbbu dara.
Farmers from the area come and offer help. They know how much they owe the truck which has supplied them so often.
Souvent takole gangara iteta pour charge ngal ari ngal be hebay no ngal arda kir kayni go fu goddo kadi nada de to der gasi mi yetta ko adala.
Two hours later, the truck arrives at the market, but they're too late. The villagers did not wait for them. They went instead to their competitors. Only one customer was willing to wait for him, but he's not happy. For Silla, the bill is even bigger. He's wasted 2 days' worth of fuel, plus he has to pay the garage to remove the jammed part. Once the wheel is repaired, Silla leaves with his cargo of unsold rice. It's the hard law of the road, one that the travelling merchants know all too well. On board the big fishing boat, fate is relentless on these fishermen. They've been at sea for 8 hours. It's already the 4th time that they have cast their 200-metre-long net and pulled it back in, using only muscle power, without catching a single fish. The 4th time that Suleiman has jumped into the water. But this time, the catch is better. Everyone is smiling, but the boat is far from being full. Not like one of those good days where each man is sure to be well rewarded for his hard work. Today, the catch just about covers the cost of the trip. Paid on commission, the sailors will earn €3. Then, a final blow of bad luck completes this difficult day. They're still 20 kilometres from shore. Spending the night at sea, at the mercy of storms, no one wants to think about that.
Le moteur a respiré de l'eau.
On arrival, the unloading of tons of fish onto the beach looks like a metaphor of the daily life of the Senegalese. A race against the deprived. Hundreds of carriers come to offer their services to the fishermen.
Il y a des caissemans, eux, ce sont des transporteurs. Chacun, on le paye 150 chaque caisse qui la même. On ne respecte pas les queues, il n'y a pas de queue. Parfois, il y a des accidents. Parfois, ils versent les poissons et les pêcheurs sont fâchés.
The rule is simple. First come, first served. So it is a rat race for just a few cents. Even among the poor, there is a hierarchy. The carriers make up the elite, the others pick up the crumbs. Half scavengers, half thieves.
When it feels fall down, I'll put it here. Okay, great. I'll find it until I have full case. Okay. Time I don't have full case, I find it one. Sometimes you mad, sometimes you fall. Okay. Yeah, this is my walk.
There are dozens of them who come to take the fish. The fishermen try to keep them behind a rope. The rope does not stop them. The fray advances. The most audacious of the thieves climb aboard the boat and help themselves. In this economy of survival, everyone must keep their head above water. As for the fish, they're not so fresh when they arrive at their destination. After having marinated for hours in the fishing boats, they're stored on the beach with neither ice nor refrigeration.
Vous voyez les poissons là qu'on pêche au Sénégal, on le vend à Dakar, partout en Chine, en Mali, Guinée, Burkina, tout.
Once again, the trucks must cross the country without giving in to the obstacles that the Senegalese roads promise. It's what Mauritanians fear the most. In just a few hours, it can plunge the country into chaos. The Harmattan is a desert wind made up of sand. On this particular occasion, it will not end in a storm, but its strength will certainly cause destruction. Propelled by the wind, 15-metre-high sand dunes have swallowed the road across hundreds of metres. While some drivers will make it through, others will fall into its merciless trap.
جي اليوم تلحق معنا واخد من الدار ما هو ناتي ما جي باسي شي نيفر لا نوي إليها هكاتياي ما في نباتات وهذا دول الصحراء لا كيف تبي الجفاف شو هو ناتي بالرمال تعود خالقه باليوك ما في اصدار هو ناتي تقريبا 10 كيلوات ماشي على طول ما في اصدار لا رمال متحركه يراوك البلديه اما ترانرها وتعدل لي تشجير.
The only way to free a vehicle from this trap is to deflate its tyres. The driver decides to park his car at the side of the road while he waits for it to clear.
لا وقفت ماتي عيطت للقاش دور نشوك وانا واقف عند قرادير تحلل كنت واقفه ورا قرادير لا يجي فماتي نمشوا هنا قبوشي قال نرجعوا للوتوتو نادرا هذه الفتره اللي يعود الرمال المتحرك يا غير ما تنفع لحد ولا تعاونوا لا وخليك حد ما باس معاك وفش لك الكرعين والعاتق كي عدلت التمارك والعاتق قال لك شي كريك والله شياطينه متعاونه تماما.
The road will not be cleared until tomorrow morning. Mauritania is an arid country, home to the Sahara and the Sahel. Getting supplies to forgotten villages far from these oceans of sand is no easy task. The traditional camel caravans, overly demanding of human and animal power, have been replaced by age-old machines. On board, men work to the bone to ensure others don't go hungry. Every week, fished goods are transported around the country in truly unsanitary conditions. Occasionally, they travel several days in boxes in bush taxis. No ice to preserve the fish inside. Except sometimes fate has other plans. The poorest in Mauritania travel on one of the longest trains in the world. 2 days of hellish travel on rickety carriages filled with iron ore.
Il y a le sable, il y a la poussière, il y a le froid, il y a la chaleur.
The Mauritanians have a saying, the world's beauty is made from its misery. The Sahara's splendour will never bring wealth to the people of this desert. But in this immense region, one thing that does ring out is the bravery of its inhabitants. At the gates of the desert lies the large town of Tijitchka. Not long ago, it was a bustling layover hub for dromedary camel caravans, but over the years, the animal lost in its battle against the machine. Dromedaries have become increasingly rare. Food and other commodities now travel on the backs of its four-wheeled cousin. In fairness to Sid Ahmed, the driver of this vehicle, he would need 74 camels to transport the 22 tons piled on the back of his truck. Sid Ahmed only ever embarks on his adventures through the desert if he has his co-pilot Mohamed by his side.
تعرف انت يا اخي 20 لتر ساعة ما تفوت ساعة ما بردتش ودول يشربوا والله هذا يا ابوه احنا هذا خلقنا قاعدين هون عند موريتانيين وما زال عندهم
Only a truck like Sid Ahmed's would dare traversing this terrain. The two are supplying goods to the town of Tichit, 250 kilometres of dunes and sand in the stifling heat of a sunlit truck. In order to last the 3-day journey, Sid Ahmed and his co-pilot sip on a formidable energy-boosting beverage, mint tea. The trick is to fill it to the brim and use lots of sugar. He pours the tea from one glass to the other at least 20 times.
والله السودان 40 تلهج مرة نوصل على 3 أيام مرة نوصل على 4 أيام مرة إذا ما أخسر النسود أخسر سمانة 4.
The Tagant Desert is a hell zone for both man and machine. With 40-degree heat in the shade, these old vehicles can run out of steam. At times, the rocky parts can lead to punctured tyres. At others, the truck gets covered in sand. Indeed, there are certain precautions to take.
أنا هنا نقصر الكراع بعد شوي. لا يخلق ياسر من والله هذا أكثر شيء هو لا 6 أشهر يبدلوا والله. 6 أشهر. أقوى بدوام الهش.
Once deflated, the tyres no longer sink in the sand. That being said, the truck can now only reach 10 kilometres an hour, but given its age, perhaps that's not a bad thing.
الزينات ما ممكن تجدد ضرب واحدة ما يتقل عن تراب في ترتة تحت. مرسيدس كله أنت فقير ما عنده شيء. كل حد يقدر باني وتر. حد يقدر يعدلها ما عنده شيء.
The reason for the nickname peasant truck is because of its simple mechanic structure, easy to repair. The key to driving in the desert is going slow. 7 hours of driving later, the two men hit their 70th kilometre and their first delivery point. This desert farmer has been awaiting his delivery for over a month.
جاتني هنا الصحافة تجاوب معي وقالوا لي انت شو مقدم من الطلبات؟ قلت لهم لا نغطي حق مساوي فيهم البشر كامل. الشيخ خاص بدا دمي ذاك بلا قيمة. احمد اللي درس عند الله يجازيه باحسن جزائه. لما يجيبوا مهباس ما هو مبيع الولاد اللي يخصن الشيء. الله اكبر. الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين.
By way of thanks, Sharif dedicates his evening prayer to them.
زين هذا زين يعاوننا ويسبل لك الطريق وذا كامل وتسمونك ولا عندك مشكلة. هذا هو اللي صالح.
Only time will tell whether or not their prayer has been heard. If only to gain some time, Sid Ahmed and his co-pilot continue their journey. At night in the desert, temperatures drop to 5 degrees Celsius, a welcome relief from the furnace of the day. Suddenly, the engine loses power and an orange flashing light on their dashboard can't be good news.
الله الله اللي مدسمه حق شو
هو راك اذا ما عدش ياخذ تدروته متى تنتر
وتما تنتر مال الله يتم قالوا قالهن بس ما يريق ازواج وتما ترى ازواج سيد احمد ايوه هاي صورك عاد محتاجه قلت لك ان هي قلت انها ما هي.
Both draw on their expertise to detect the leak, but after an hour of searching, it is Mohamed who finds it in the end.
شغلتك تعرف فين تنقلب عند الهجوم ثاني ما يعني كنسات جاوبهم ظلوا معاه فهمت بدلوا عني تي وما نقول لهم بدلوا عني تي وحيطوا لهم
The truck does not belong to them. They are both employees. They earn €150 for each one-way trip. Though it isn't much, they believe it's better than nothing.
يفتر طبعا غير ما يقابل العود فترال بيد الخلق لا اخوتي واهلي كاملين ولا بدالي نتم نحرك فيهم وذا كامل ونساعدهم ويساعدوني وذا كامل.
180 kilometers to their destination of Tichit, an eternity in desert language. Supplying the most remote towns is a constant source of worry for the Mauritanian state, especially as most of the goods are perishable. In the capital city of Nouakchott, the port is constantly at work. At the end of the afternoon, a well-practiced routine begins. Once the boats have moored, the men stabilise them to the best of their ability. Then hundreds of hands storm the boats. Paid by the number of transported fish-filled crates, the men strive to make as many trips as possible. But this comes with its dangers.
Si la mer est agitée ou bien la pirogue peut être dangereuse, elle peut se renverser sur les gens et c'est dangereux là-bas. Il y a des gens qui meurent.
Last year, 18 men were crushed under these boats. The men transport the crates 100 metres up the beach, where ancient 404 pickup trucks from the French colonial era are loaded up. These handle the final 300-metre stretch of heavy lifting to the transport trucks.
Les 404 sont des véhicules qui peuvent supporter n'importe quelle charge. Tu peux mettre 2 tonnes. 2 tonnes 200, 2 tonnes 300 par exemple. Comme ça.
Et ça marche toujours.
Ça marche toujours comme ça.
These old French relics only ever ride on the beach, and it's a good job too. They're not in the best of conditions, but their engines are always ready to roar. A minor miracle, considering how they're maintained.
Lipton là. Il y a Lipton.
Là, ça coule un peu. Donc on va mettre ça ici. Ça va ralentir les choses là. Ça lui empêche de couler très rapidement. Tu comprends? Ça c'est un petit frère.
Once poured into the heater, they say, the tea expands and plugs the leak. There is a genius amidst these mechanics.
Comment tu démarres la voiture? Comme ça, on démarre ça.
Les deux fils, le jaune avec le rouge, c'est le contact. Le deuxième rouge, c'est le démarrière. On va faire comme ça. Voilà, on va arriérer. Arriérer. Si tu vois le marche arrière, c'est là. Tu as vu le corde là? Tu coins comme ça, tu as rentré. Tout droit. Tout droit, à bout.
Not all these fish are destined for consumption. Each year, more than 500,000 tonnes are fished in order to be ground into flour. Flour which, ironically, will go to fish farms or to Europe and Asia to pig farms. The sea remains one of the world's largest resources, but sending fish to the other end of the desert without raising the price is tricky. So the Mauritanian state has put in place a very particular delivery method. Each week in Tijijka, a taxi driver is responsible for transport. Today, he will be transporting 100 kilograms of mackerel.
تيجي من واكسوط ويجي من واليبو ويجي لتيجيكجي حنا ننقلوه من تيجيكجي دول توصلوا للولاية.
Without government support, the price of the fish would be 5 times higher. Messaoud faces a 300-kilometre journey to the village of Dagrigit.
شفت هاي الطريق هي بحد ذاتها صعيبة وبسيطة. صعوبة صعيبة اللي قد يصح من الصعاب. جينا من لازمين تلحق هون ما يقدر ياخذ هالشي قاع. قاع ضرك زين يا ضرك زينة قاع على.
The passengers, just like the fish, are at risk of overheating. Messaoud has no icebox and certainly no air conditioning. Outside, the temperature is 40 degrees, and in the passenger cabin, even with the windows open, the heat is staggering. The taxi driver hopes to deliver his merchandise by evening at the very latest. In an ideal world, that is. The passengers know better than to be optimistic about arriving on time. And just a few hours in... This is not Messaoud's first flat tyre, but he struggles nonetheless.
تعرف شنو؟ كريك. عندك كريك فين؟
يعطيني كراع. هذه المباراة اللي كريك هوك. هذا كراع ندور سكن هون سكن رجع بيدنا ندير ناور كريك هوك.
كراع ما هو اللي يقدر.
كل الوقت أنت. الله. بدون قدام. لا جاي لا جاي. ما يتوسع. أتكلم تدولة في دنيا تولى. جاي عملت.
Over in the trunk, the mackerel seems to be holding up, but will they last the night? Messaoud and his 2 passengers must spend the night in the desert. Over the years, the state has improved the road networks between the largest cities. But despite talk of tarmac, the terrain manages to make each journey a long and expensive ordeal. To reach the most remote villages can cost up to 30% of an annual salary, which in Mauritania is around 84 euros. The majority of the country's inhabitants are pastoralists and farmers. To get around, the poorest travellers have only one option, but it is a dangerous one. The most daring head to the iron mine. These trains are 2 kilometres long and are the longest in the world. They transport iron ore. Travellers are permitted to get on the first wagons of the morning train, a concession which allows the state to keep ownership of territory at low costs. But the journey is far from a smooth ride, even for this steel giant and its drivers. Crossing the desert requires specialist equipment.
Appuie. Lâche. Tu vois, ça c'est sable mobile. Ça sert pour s'il y a du sable. Tu appuies pour dégager le sable. Ils ont ça. Vous voyez, c'est notre premier ami, c'est le frein. Parce que si on perd le frein, on est perdu.
Indeed, once moving with its 181 wagons, it takes 2 kilometres to stop completely. The train and its makeshift passengers set off for a journey of over 700 kilometres. Destination, Nouadhibou, the industrial port. They're due to arrive in a mere 18 hours, that is, as long as all goes smoothly. Along the way, they come across nomads who have set up their tents. The drivers indulge in a tradition whose origins no one knows.
Maintenant, on donne les feuilles à des enfants qui sont là. Il y a une famille qui habite à côté, en plein brousse. Donc, ouais, ils sont là-bas.
Each day, the drivers distribute around 20 baguettes. Legend has it that Mauritanian nomads discovered French bread thanks to these trains. Seen in this light, breezing through the desert doesn't seem too bad after all for these drivers.
Il faut avoir un rail cassé devant toi, les animaux qui passent. Et parfois les chameaux, d'un coup, l'autre peut traverser pour voir son camarade. C'est ça le danger.
Though this doesn't affect the train, for nomads this is extremely costly. One camel can cost anywhere between 150 and 1,000 euros, so in the event of accidents, the mines must compensate. This accident just happened.
Le train a touché les chameaux. Il a complètement cassé son pied. Ça arrive souvent? De temps en temps, oui.
Passengers like Mamin sit on the wagons, enduring a hellish journey with no shade for protection.
Il y a tout. Il y a du vent, il y a le sable, il y a la poussière, il y a le froid, il y a la chaleur. Il y a tout, il y a presque tout.
Not to mention the risks every time you have to move. Mamin is a transporter. With the support of these men, he transports goods on behalf of a trader. Flour, oil, pasta, semolina, canned goods. In total, 1 ton of merchandise.
Les cartons ne sont pas bien solides. Et le fait de déplacer ça de temps en temps, ça détruit la marchandise.
This exhausting and dangerous work earns him €15 with each one-way trip. For him, it is torture. But at 56 years old, Mamin has no other choice. Last year, his grocery store went bankrupt.
J'étais boutiquier et quand j'ai déménagé avec toute ma famille au niveau de Nouadhibou, j'ai cherché à ouvrir une boutique, essayer de faire le même boulot que je connaissais à Nouakchott. Et en fin de compte, j'ai fait mon premier voyage, c'était très dur. Je me suis dit que ça ne peut pas continuer. Et j'ai tourné en rond à Nouadhibou. Finalement, j'étais obligé de faire un deuxième voyage. Et dès que j'ai fait le deuxième voyage, Dieu merci, c'est devenu une habitude et je me suis habitué, ça va. هذا لك انت ايوه قبضوا لهي faut 2-3 couvertures parfois 4 gars et c'est pas suffisant.
Tu peux faire très froid la nuit?
Très froid, ça va jusqu'aux os parce que c'est le froid du désert. Quand il fait chaud, quand il fait frais, il fait frais.
The temperature can drop from 40 to 5 degrees, not counting the wind. At the halfway point, it's time to switch train conductors. It's at this moment that Mamin and his men must be on their guard.
أنا ما لقيت الحين تخطط في مشات، أصدقت في مشات بوكو دو الطوار سراقة. في مشات لقيت حاجة يقدون. بالليل يا وجه واحد أنا والنقص بس. الذي سبون. ترى سبون. مشي. أنا يبغى لي رحلة عند الوادي براجع إلى راجع. عند الوادي ولين سوينا. سيف يمين مرة ترانتمين. الأسبوع درت كرنتمين. النادي أنا هكذا أنا أعرف كيف أنا بعد
But on this day, disaster is averted. At around 5:30 a.m, an alarm triggers the automatic emergency brakes. In order to identify the problem, the drivers must manually release the brakes on each of the 181 wagons.
Qu'est-ce qui s'est passé alors? Il y a un blocage sur le train.
Sûrement le blocage c'est vers la queue.
C'est loin alors parce que
bon, on va marcher hein.
Combien de kilomètres?
Bon, ce train fait 1 km 820 mètres.
1 hour later, the mechanic realises why the emergency brake was triggered.
Il a été bloqué. Il était bloqué celui-là. Stop. Marque l'arrêt.
Around 50 of the wagons were loose. The 15,000 tons of goods exert a tremendous amount of pressure on the connecting joints.
Là-bas, c'est une descente. Là, c'est une montée. On avait freiné, on a repris. La claque a tiré vers l'arrière. Nous, on continue vers l'avant. Il y a un dételage.
3 hours lost.
Doucement pour 3 wagons.
It looks like it's going to be a long day for Mamin and his men. Nouadhibou port is still another 135 kilometers away.
Voilà, continue comme ça pour accrocher. Continue comme ça pour accrocher.
Leaving opportunity for more obstacles to disrupt the smooth running of the convoy. The Mauritanian giant recently got relegated to second place among the world's largest trains. But it holds another significant title as the world's slowest train, averaging a speed of 40 kilometers per hour. Its four-wheeled competitors are no faster. Sid Ahmed and his co-pilot took 3 days and 3 nights to cover a mere 210 kilometres.
فرحان به بعض صبح.
With 40 to go before they reach the town of Tichit, but the toughest part of the journey still awaits them.
خراب 200 والمون تاعي ولا كام والتاعي طب فجأة عاد ولا على بالمون تاعي يقبل وحد هو بس شوي
ما يكرد تراس كرته طبيعية ما شاء الله ما في موت الوقت.
But with 22 tons on its back, the German truck begins to sink into the sand, little by little.
لا ودي قلت زير التوري المفرد ما
لا يقول انجل من الكل حمر واحدي ما يدري.
The sand causes Sid Ahmed's speed to drop to 5 kilometers per hour.
نديرو التول
After all their efforts in 45-degree heat, the white-hot engine is at melting point. The two men are also overheated. Fortunately, thanks to their makeshift cooler, their desert fridge, the water is still ice cold.
لا صرنا هذا هو وقت ما قيل صرنا ودلوقت نقارني تكترير والله ذا ما قد بطيت دائما الا اكثر شيء 10 ايام دائما هو ثم يجيك دباناج انه قاعد يعود لا عادي قاعد تقلب عليه مدة نهارين الله ذاك.
At this rate, it's unlikely the men will complete the remaining 40 kilometres by the end of the day. Fortunately for them, none of the goods they're transporting are perishable. Unlike the driver of this bush taxi. Masoud transports 100 kilograms of fish without anything to preserve it. He had to halt the journey for an entire night because of a puncture, so this morning he's keeping his foot on the accelerator. Fresh fish comes before the comfort of his passengers.
C'est compliqué. On réfléchit 100 fois. Est-ce qu'il faut partir ou bien il ne faut pas partir? أحمد خلص لي قروها شنو؟ تحتاني. كونجلي نورمال. بس كونجلي نورمال. والله عليه تم كنت بيه لين يوصلوا. ما بعرف ليش. وقت اللي جابوه مولي على كل حال يريح منه تتصالح معاه الحمد لله عنده كونجلاترات مولي قدامه دار فيهم يعني حال سهل الحمد لله.
36 hours and 300 kilometres of desert terrain later, Messaoud finally delivers the fish to the inhabitants of Agrajit. Well, the mackerel isn't exactly cold. Like the majority of desert villages, Agrajit has no electricity. To keep the food fresh for a few days, the village pulled together to buy a battery-run refrigerator. Only there's one problem.
الله اللي مهم حتى ما حد بيجينا مهم الناس قاعد فاصل حتى هاي مشكلتنا احنا مشكلة الباتري راه ما عندنا عطاء.
Within 1 hour, the families have gathered together.
هذا مصيدف لا لا انا لا انا لا فوق هذا بني وين مصيدف لا فوق لا انت من هذا
الله جزاك الله.
With global warming, villages like Agrajit are doomed to disappear. The Sahara is getting hotter and hotter, while water is becoming increasingly scarce. Entire populations fleeing the desert. Just 5 years ago, 2,000 people lived in Inal. Today, the Sahara is slowly swallowing up homes.
مشات الناس مشات عنها شورى بولا نوار ونواذيبو نوار شورى تقري تركه بهم وسائل الحياة ما هنا تياها ومالي ماشيين قروا تركتهم.
Messaoud and the 4 remaining families in the village refuse to give up the land of their ancestors. But how long will they hold on?
كيسنا معاه نيجي تلاتهم كيسنا معاه ما نخسروا يجي القوارب يعود يجيب الماء نعود نزيدوه إن شاء الله.
The state provides them with water. Every Saturday, the villagers lay out this large plastic container. Then they wait for hours, sometimes the whole day, for the horn to sound. The sound of the desert's largest moving water cistern. The 480,000 litres of water contained in these cisterns determine the survival of at least 20 villages. This DIY hose leaks as much water as it transports to the giant flask. Within half an hour, 3 containers have been filled with 20 tons of water in each. A speedy operation, as there is no time to waste. The trains share one train track, making it impossible to cross or overtake. By the time the moving cistern sets off, the iron ore convoy has caught up and is just a few kilometres behind. Mamin has been travelling on the back of this wagon for 17 hours now, and he is exhausted. He has more soot on his face than in his lungs. Last year, Mamin's grocery store went bankrupt, and since then has had to accept any work he can find. Just like the transporter, he has 4 men who help him transport 1 ton of merchandise on behalf of a trader. The iron ore train is a real lifeline. It is the means by which many do business, see their family, and find work. During a stopover, a new passenger comes aboard. To avoid having to carry too much food, its owner feeds it with a peculiar mixture.
نعطي الأحمر سيوكو حازمو ديت لا يطيح إلى فريني هوك هذا ديت لا يطيح هوك فريني إلى ديت يعطي 24 heures ما يأكل ما يشرب سواء وأنا فاهم الفرد لها 200 ما عنده مشكلة.
The donkey represents Mustafa's last savings and a chance to find work. He usually works as a sailor, but no crew would hire him this year.
واللي جايبوا لها نسخة العلي ايوا شو انا جيت يا امس شهر شو وشريتها رحمة ندوروا نسخة العلي شريته ب 35 كيلو هذا هو شخص كبير فريته كل شيء ريته نرهدوني الحديد سيمون.
Thanks to the mining train, Mustafa can save on transport, but though the iron train is free, trials are thrown in too. "30 kilometres from the finish line, the convoy once again grinds to a halt. The engine in this lead locomotive has given up.
يمشي بقى تلقاه هو ورك عنده مشكلة تلقاه الطريق تلقاه ورك بعيسين هو لا ويتردي موالي بحسب الوقت هو يمشي الوقت ويا مستردي شور الزويرة.
The delay is not a loss for all, however. Out of nowhere emerge 2 street vendors, hoping to make a buck from the breakdown.
هاي طلع جاي تورش شينغوم سيجاريت
بسكيت بسكويت
بيد هذا قاعد يدور على طرطق.
The street vendor needn't worry. The train will not leave for another 3 hours. This giant of the desert finishes its crazy journey 21 hours after departure. Before entering the port of Nouadhibou, the rail workers allow time for the passengers to disembark, and it's a good job too. If the animal gets injured, Mustafa can bid adieu to his new work prospects. In a short while, Mustafa will be able to send money home to his wife and children. Mamin, on the other hand, is furious. The truck and its goods have arrived behind schedule. Mamin takes this journey 20 days each month. He doesn't know how much longer he will be able to continue. He dreams of a truck and drivers like these on a tarmac road. After 4 days of hard work and 250 kilometres of sand, driving at the speed of a dromedary camel, Sid Ahmed makes out the outlines of the Millennium City. Listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, Tichit has long been one of the main stops for camel caravans. They've helped make the city's fortune, attracting educated scholars. A witness of the city's glorious past, the library holds manuscripts dating back to the 11th century. Though the city may have kept its splendour, its economy collapsed with the disappearance of the large merchant caravans. Getting to Tichit is always a feat for drivers. The driver rushes everyone. He's to get back on the road in a few short hours with a new load. The 3,000 inhabitants of Tichit live mainly off the harvest of a strange material. During the rainy season, the water retained in this immense basin produces salt, which mixes with the clay. It is called amarsal, or earth salt. It's not for cooking with, but the Mauritanians give it to their camels, who love it for good reason. The salt traps water in the body.
لا هذيك الفضاء شفت معنى الله عندنا لا يستبخ هي واعمل النساء ايوه يا غير ما هو دايم يوم اللي مولانا يجي مدة كيف نجي ونستفاد الله يفلح هاي
اللي هي كم؟
يا 18 هذول كاملين زايدتين 8 مالهم عندهم 400 وقي بعد نقول عندنا انا غنى لا طاعته ولا دين وهذا شبه من السرقه وخير من النمي وخير من حاجه عدل شي بلاغي والله.
A few months ago, Aisha's husband left her alone to raise their children.
جينا هون حوالي اللي هو احنا جايين في الصبح احنا جينا هون حكمنا السابع تام جينا السابع تام ما وارديهم قرفار تانا ديهم ما يبقوا قايشوا لاني انا لانه رجاش واحد هم يقرأوا انا فرض يعني مشينا الشطق ما انا الله ما هي زين عندهم لا يبقوا غير انا فارضتهم ديها ايه والله طال.
Once 20 tons of amarsal is loaded, it's time for Sid Ahmed to hit the road. Barely any time to rest.
حال بعد العشاء رجع الله تم السجة ماشي.
ايوه هذا يكسر والله.
لابد منه.
اسكيبيك مزيان لبسته.
Mauritania has lived these past 15 years under the threat of a terrorist attack. Certain regions are still to be avoided, but the country is gradually opening back up. The Mauritanian state overcame one war, but now it faces another, that of global warming. Droughts are becoming increasingly severe, sand is advancing even further, engulfing roads and villages. If global temperatures continue to rise, the desert will soon be empty of its inhabitants.
On West Africa's Atlantic coast, the former British colony of Ghana became infamous for its involvement in the transatlantic slave trade, and also for its abundant reserves of gold, which is why the English called it the Gold Coast. The country is rich in raw materials such as oil, which was recently discovered in the region, and, above all, cocoa. Ghana is the world's second biggest producer of cocoa, But despite the plentiful resources, they rarely benefit Ghanaians themselves. Resourcefulness has become a necessity. For some people, white gold has replaced yellow. They're not aiming to get rich, they're merely trying to survive. Ghana means warrior king, a fitting name that reflects the strength and resilience of its people.
I want to buy a whole basket.
They face a new battle every day. At dawn on Lake Volta, the largest artificial reservoir in the world, water taxis pull up to the banks. Three times a week, they transport isolated villagers to the big market in the town of Tapa. This particular cow seems to sense that getting on the boat isn't going to be an easy task.
I'm going to sell my cow at the market. The boat's the only way to get there. It's risky for the cow, but I've got no choice.
1, 2, 3. Let's go.
The cow would have undoubtedly appreciated a ramp, but a ride in the fresh air is bound to calm it down. The boats may be primitive, but they are vital for the region's economy. Without them, farmers would be trapped on their islands.
Dada! Give the man my basket so he can bring it to me.
Everyone gets onto such boats any way they can. They have no choice. The ferries are too big to dock at these small patches of land. Although few of the passengers know how to swim, they mainly use the life jackets as parasols. But everything's fine. The lake is like a mill pond. Warily watching the boat's draft, Joseph, the captain, gets as much onto it as he can.
I don't know actually how many people and animals there are. I counted 4 cows and 4 sheep. The maximum is about 10, 15 cows. And the maximum number of people, I would say, is 50 to 150. It's very dangerous. If we're unlucky and a storm hits when we're in the middle of the lake, it's really dangerous.
After a 2-hour journey, the water taxi arrives at Tapa Market. For the animals, getting off the boat is a much more pleasant experience than getting on. The passengers are barely off the boat when it heads back out across the lake. At the Tapa Market, the scent of spices mingles with the aroma of freshly fried fritters. Still, it's hard to ignore the smell of petrol and fish. A Amid this potpourri of scents, one in particular is missing, the scent derived from a fruit found at every market stall, the cocoa fruit. Its scent doesn't unfold until it has been processed. Ghana is the world's second biggest producer of cocoa. Hundreds of trucks transported across the country before it's exported all over the world. But most locals, like Abiko, have never tasted it.
All people in this village, they are all the cocoa farmers. They are all from different places to come and work at cocoa farming in this area. Nobody could even see some of the chocolate before. Some of the cocoa farmers, the chocolate before, or they didn't taste even Milo before.
Abiko shuttles between dozens of warehouses along the road. He works for the state, which buys almost all the cocoa produced by the region's farmers.
How many kilos there is by bag?
65 or something like that, 65 kilos.
Cocoa sales represent 10% of Ghana's gross domestic product. But the locals rarely see any of the profits in their day-to-day lives.
A design.
The roads leading to the warehouses are run down.
Very difficult because there is a loading. The load in the car too is very expensive. So you have to get your time and the road, because of the road condition. If you don't take your time, your spring will block or anything can spoil in the car.
It's a vicious cycle. If Abiko is late delivering the load, he will lose part of his salary. In the heart of the forest, the cocoa harvesters have to get a move on. The season is coming to an end. They need to gather the remaining pods, the fruit that contains the cocoa beans, before they rot on the trees. No machine could do the work as well as these men can, but harvesting is an arduous task. They extract the beans from their pods with machetes, which are nicknamed go-to-hells. Cocoa is the pride of this country.
It's the best quality. Other countries produce cocoa, but it's just not as good as in Ghana. From here, the cocoa will go to Accra. And once there, it will head to Europe. I don't know what its final destination will be.
Around 15 families farm the cocoa trees in this small forest. But in the past few years, production levels have dropped. The single-crop farming of cocoa has sucked all the nutrients out of the soil. The trees are growing old, and there's no money to replace them. Nowadays, every penny counts. The farm is situated close to the border with Togo. Jeff sells his cocoa beans to whichever country bids highest.
The border with Togo is around 1 kilometer from here. In December, Togo was paying €1.37 a kilo. Ghana was paying €1.16. But at the end of the month, Togo's price had dropped to €1.22 and Ghana's price rose. So it was better to sell to Ghana. I'm going to load this onto a motorbike. I'll take it to the shop.
Why are you putting it on a motorbike?
Because there's no path, there's no road. They're just tracks. There's no road suitable for cars. It's very dangerous. There are lots of accidents. Normally, the government should have built bridges, but there are no bridges. So if you're not careful, you'll have an accident. Often you don't think you're going to fall, but then you do.
The trip to the town on these old motorbikes can be very risky. Broken arms or legs are common, although Jeff's team hasn't suffered any fatalities yet. Sadly, Maxwell was not so lucky. He died in a car accident as he was delivering bags of cocoa beans to the town. His aunt, Precious, is bringing his body back to the village in a coffin shaped like a cocoa pod as a gesture of honor. Funerals in Ghana are far from morbid affairs. Here, death is seen less as an end as the gateway to eternal life and is cause for celebration. Ghanaians believe in the afterlife. It's important for families to express love and respect for the deceased to ease their journey to the other side. Sometimes burials are large affairs, just like the one today. The whole village is taking part. The women prepare a traditional dish of corn dough topped with a spicy sauce. Seems shocking to some, the body is dressed in finery and put on display before it is placed back in the coffin.
He's dead.
While they mourn their loss, Maxwell's family firmly believes that he has simply moved on to another life. In one form or another, he will be more powerful than those still living, so each of them comes to talk to him to win his favor.
safe journey. You'll be reunited with your brother. You'll be reunited with everyone there. You'll be welcomed with open arms. What job will you do in your next life? After all I did for you, you left me.
We put the body like that because he's a student, and we will lay him like that to present to everybody that he's a child and still a student. If you are grown up, they will lay you to sleep. But if you are a young type, they will lay you to stand. Anyhow, your people want them to lay you on stage. You can sit, you can stand, you can sleep.
Maxwell's body was preserved in a morgue for 4 months. His family paid the equivalent of €300 for the coffin, an enormous sum for people here. The village scouts and school children give him a rousing final send-off.
The coffin is in the cocoa form because the father is a cocoa farmer, and anytime he closes from the school, he helps the farmer in the father in the farm to for the cocoa. According to tradition, if they are about to put the person in the coffin, only the family will be around him, no other person.
After a 2-hour-long ceremony, the coffin is taken to the cemetery. The pallbearers are accompanied to Maxwell's final resting place, where his coffin is again welcomed with scenes of joy, so he can begin his new life in happiness. Through the combination of the heat, chanting, and incessant beating of drums, the burial of Precious's nephew is a frenzied affair.
Because he's a young guy, he's a youth. That's why the place is very, very busy today.
It's the wrong way. Turn him this way.
Down, down, down.
On the plantation, away from the chaos of the burial, Jeff and his men head off to town to sell some of their last remaining bags of cocoa. The 10 men are transporting 650 kilos of cocoa beans. None of them have a driver's license. In any case, navigating through the bush isn't something taught in driving schools. It's a 50-kilometer-long journey, and all the drivers are alert. They want to survive this journey. Two hours across rough terrain take a toll on their old motorbikes.
The gear shift's broken because the road is so bumpy. We'll go to the mechanic in Yaskin. The road's in such bad shape it broke.
That's just the kind of thing we have to put up with here. It happens every day.
The motorbike is back on the road. They will have to put some of their profits from selling the cocoa towards the repairs. The group is hoping to earn around €100, which would make €10 per person. They've reached the final hurdle, but it's not an easy one. Quality control, carried out by the uncompromising Joseph, who buys cocoa for the government. He's the one who sets the price.
Merci. I want to check the cocoa, the dryness of the cocoa. If the color is good, it means I can buy it. If the color no good, then or it's not dry, I have to dry it.
Today, Joseph appears to be very satisfied with the quality. He pays Jeff's team €200, 100 more than they were hoping for. With its massive deposits of minerals and oil, Ghana could be very rich, but its economy still relies mainly on farming and fishing. Making a living in these sectors is far from easy. Many call on higher powers to help them get by.
Lord, we have come to our place of work this morning. May your blood fall upon us and protect us. Lord, may you destroy harmful evil spirits.
Amen.
There are birds over there. We'll cast our nets over there where the birds are. We're in direct competition with other boats, so we have to cast our nets before they do. One of them has already started fishing. They're tugging their nets too hard. They're too desperate.
The crew had better hurry. 200,000 boats are all competing off the Ghanaian coast. As a consequence, fish stocks have steadily dwindled over the years.
Get a move on. You don't want to return home empty-handed. Keep going. If you don't work, you won't get paid.
Emmanuel is the quartermaster, otherwise known as the head of the crew. His job is to keep his men motivated.
Hurry up so we have time to recast the net once more.
Fishing won't make these men millionaires. They've caught around 100 kilos at the most, mainly just small fish. The methods of some captains who use dynamite and pesticides to turn quick profits have forced bigger fish to retreat to deeper waters. Back on the beach, dozens of women are keeping an eye on the horizon. But they're not waiting for their husbands to return from sea. They're fishmongers.
We leave home in the morning and gather here to wait for the fishermen to come back. It's the only work we can do to feed ourselves. It also means I can send my children to school.
They're bound to be disappointed. None of the 15 boats have returned with an impressive haul. The battle of the fishmongers begins because there isn't enough fish to go around.
I want to buy the whole basket.
I want a basket full too.
Fisherman, I want some smelt. What's your price? How much are you selling them for? We always haggle when we buy. The fishermen give us their price and we negotiate. If they say 100, we suggest 50. They say 200, we say 100. Is that my basket you're filling up? Go ahead, fill it up. Fill it to the brim. I'm going to smoke some of them, and the others will be salted and dried in the sun. Then I'll sell them at the market.
Smoking and salting the fish prevents it from having to be refrigerated. The fishmongers can preserve it in this way for a week, maybe more. That's why salt is vitally important in Africa. Ghana has enjoyed a good reputation for its salt since the 8th century. Drivers who transport cocoa and those who transport salt share the same treacherous roads. Ghana's so-called white gold is in demand and sold across the African continent.
I want to load up 2,000 bags of salt. That makes 50 tons. I keep a close eye on the goods because if there's a problem, if something goes missing, I have to replace it. It's a dangerous trip. Sometimes robbers jump onto the truck and steal the goods. If the road's bumpy and you have to slow down, they can climb onto the truck.
But George has no choice. He has to drive slowly on these poorly maintained roads. George is taking this delivery eastwards to Benin. For 200 kilometers, he and his truck have been dancing to the rhythm of the potholes, as he puts it.
We looked like we were dancing at a party because of the road. You saw how I was dancing at the wheel? That's because the roads are so badly damaged.
Most coastal residents make a living from salt production.
Everywhere you look, there's salt. Even when the women dig down into the ground, they find salt.
Salt is one of the rare edible minerals found in abundance. It's an unlimited resource that helps people living on the coast to survive. But just because there's a lot of it doesn't mean it's easy to harvest.
It's the men who delegate and share out the work, and it's us women who have to dig for the salt. The men avoid doing it themselves because it's hard work. So it's us women who have to do it. If you gather the salt with your bare hands, they get covered in sores. That's why mine are in such a bad state. We use this tool to help. It's made out of wood and nails to break down the salt crystals. I've worked collecting salt for 20 years. It's a really tough job. I have awful aches and pains. I have a bad back. My feet are cracked and hard.
En fin de day, the traders start to haggle, and they are ruthless.
I want nice-looking salt. To be able to resell it, I'll have to spread it out and examine it. If it doesn't look good, I won't be able to sell it for the best price. It can't be mixed up with any sand.
When it's windy, the sand mixes with the salt.
Is this one yours?
I said I'd sell it for 200.
No, that's too much.
How much would you pay for it?
I'll give you 100 cedis.
Nope, no deal.
No deal? Come on, please.
I'm not compromising. My salt is nice and white.
It's white, but times are hard. People just aren't buying anymore. I'll take it for 120.
120 isn't enough. Yesterday, someone bought it for $150. No lie.
If you don't agree, I'll go buy somewhere else.
Okay, all right. I'm happy today. My children and I will be able to eat. We'll have full stomachs. She bought everything off me, and I have money to count up.
Here's the money.
Thank you for buying my salt. May God bless you and protect you on your journey back.
The equivalent of 21 euros. The money will last her and her 2 children a week. Any animals she can catch are a supplement to their meals.
This is my house. It's where I live. All my riches are here. I make everything myself with my own hands. These buckets are mine. I keep these skirts to one side for funerals. My hands are damaged from the hard work I do. They're starting to look like the hands of a leper.
But Johanna always tries to keep a smile on her face. Her motto, she says, is, "You can't wear down an axe by slicing bananas." In other words, anything is possible with a bit of willpower. And that's something that Ghanaians appear to have in ample supply, no matter how arduous the task. George and his assistant have now been dancing in their truck for hours.
I like my job. I was destined to do it. My dad taught me to drive. I've been driving since I was young. When I was 12, I could already drive. I've been to Ghana, Burkina Faso, Ivory Coast, Mali, Niger, Nigeria.
All these years of driving have taught George patience, lots of it, especially when it comes to crossing borders.
We have to go and check in.
George and his assistant arrive in Aflao, a town on the border with Togo.
The customs officers will check the goods and the condition that they're in. They want to check that the stuff hasn't gone off and won't make people sick.
George takes his place among the hundreds of other trucks waiting to be inspected. Some have been stuck here for weeks. The customs officers work at their own pace as drivers wait patiently. However long it may take, everything will get to where it needs to go. Back at the cocoa plantation, Jeff is also preparing to go to Togo. He's located much closer to the border and so is making the journey on foot.
These are the last few bags. I'm going to cross the border. I need some CFA francs. That's the currency used in the village I want to go to. I'm taking the last few bags to sell. This year the quality of the cocoa isn't good. It's spoiled. The rains ruined all the cocoa.
These cocoa beans are not good enough to be sold to Ghanaian buyers. But in Togo, Jeff knows a trader who doesn't scrutinize goods too thoroughly.
The village is an hour's walk away, carrying the cocoa on our heads. When we arrive at the border, we'll cross it and head to the farm.
For the cocoa carriers, it's a far from gentle stroll. They've got around 30 kilos on their heads.
This is the little bridge that marks the border. We've crossed the border between Ghana and Togo, and now we're in Togo. Once you cross it, you're in Togo. So now I've made it.
Cocoa, oil, gold, and other mineral resources could make Ghana one of the world's fastest growing economies. Instead, Ghanaians describe their country as a sick child who has only recovered because of the tenacity of its workforce.
The animals of the savannah no longer run away when they hear this strange sound. The creaking noises of this truck are known all over Bariba in Benin. Zachary is the unfortunate owner. From October to January, the north of Benin lives at the pace of the cotton harvesting. The fibre represents around 40% of the country's exports. For months, rickety trucks travel the country's roads at their great risk. Cotton is the country's wealth, but the rural countryside is poor. Huge amounts of water are required to grow it. During the harvest, day and night, Benin revolves around all things cotton. For almost a week, around 100 drivers have been hoping to load their trucks with cotton. A never-ending wait, without any conveniences or comforts, never being able to move away from their vehicles.
Si on laisse les camions comme ça, les voleurs peuvent venir voler
de n'importe quoi. Ils peuvent venir enlever gasoil ou batterie.
Et avant, il avait combien de millions de kilomètres quand il a pris?
Bon, c'est utilisé sur les plans, on ne sait pas comment ils ont utilisé ça. Avant de nous amener ça, des fois ils vont réduire les compteurs. C'est mon apprenti. Il est venu apprendre lui-même pour être chauffeur. Oui, il voyage avec moi.
Rahman and his apprentice transport the bales of cotton, which are processed in this factory. They're hoping to load the truck up today, but there seems to be little hope of that. The factory dates back to the 80s, and so do its safety regulations. In amongst this deafening racket, around 50 factory workers clean the cotton of its impurities. After waiting for 9 days, the eagerly awaited miracle is finally here. Rahman loads up 24 tons of cotton.
Bon, j'entre le sur le chargement pour que ça ne va pas manquer.
The driver has to deliver the bales in less than 24 hours to the port of Cotonou. The name of the city sounds strangely like a homage to the precious plant. Far from it, Cotonou actually means river of death, just like the road that leads there. 600 kilometers at full speed all the way to the other side of the country. During celebrations, the Beninese dance the teke. And when they drive, they dance the shake, a dance created for the road and its endless bumps and turns.
Ça a beaucoup de trous, ça nous soulève dans la cabine, vous voyez.
It's only after several kilometres that Rahman is able to fully start the truck. Even beneath all its modern features, the vehicle has reached the old age of 40. Once he's reached 100 kilometres an hour, Rahman barely touches the brake.
Celui que j'ai klaxonné, si je vois il ne va pas céder la place, je le serre la place.
Mais tu t'arrêtes jamais en fait?
Non, la piéton non, mais s'il est au bon milieu de la voie, je peux m'arrêter. Pour se protéger, c'est pas des gris-gris, en plus notre prière. Je dis, nous les Africains, on est toujours sécurisés.
But who protects the pedestrians and motorcyclists when his truck turns into a fast-moving killing machine? Especially considering that Rahman rarely checks his mirrors. This piece of metal is none other than the iron strapping holding the fuel tank inside. The fuel tank could come off at any moment, exploding all over the road. 10 long kilometers later, it very nearly happened. It's still a long way to Cotonou. In Benin, trucks like Dramans are nicknamed Titans, a reference to a French military truck from the 40s which transported heavy loads at high speeds. Zachary's truck is far from being a Titan. It moves at walking pace. It very rarely goes over 5 kilometers an hour. Zachary drives around the scrubland plantations, loading up the cotton to take to the factory. The old truck from the 60s lost its haughtiness long ago, and its engine is not as brave as it used to be. A DIY solution is much cheaper. By placing the tank high up in the cabin, pressure forces the petrol down into the engine. But the system has its limits. It's the 5th breakdown this morning. Every few kilometers, Zachary turns into a human pump to get the fuel flowing again. Before loading up, the men compress the cotton. During the harvest, on each farm, families lend a hand in the fields. There are no exceptions. The children work an average of 10 hours a day. Before becoming farmers, the Bariba people were wild warriors, engaging in single combat. Today, each loading reawakens this dormant fighting spirit. The group that can carry the highest number of 130-kilogram bales will be declared the winner. The round of the cotton farms lasts 2 days. Zachary's truck transports the clouds of cotton as it moves along. Cotton has become one of the main sources of wealth for Benin, but for the last few years, drought has reduced the harvest. A nasty surprise awaits Zachary in the next village. There's a revolt on the farm. None of the workers want to load up the truck. There's nothing Zachary can do. It's impossible to convince them. However, the men aren't asking for a lot.
On n'a pas de l'eau. Pour trouver l'eau, c'est notre femme qui ira chercher de l'eau. Avec le bâcher, comme vous savez.
The owner of the cotton field hasn't provided enough water for the men. In order to find more, it's quite an expedition. The well is 3 kilometers from the village.
Qu'est-ce qu'il y a? Il n'y a pas d'eau?
The women will have to walk 3 more kilometers to get to the second water source. The drought isn't the only cause of this. Cotton is one of the crops that consumes the most water in the world. An hour and a half later, the women come across a black water source. The water is murky and putrid.
Pourquoi? Cái gì nữa ha? Giờ nó bà nhớ toàn bà đùa bà nó học mà hết mà bà tài gì mà? Ô cái bà đùa mà? Ô bà nói bà, anh nói bảo hậu vì gì? Ê, má hết chuyện quá, hết bữa mà mi.
The women have walked 6 kilometers for 5 bowls and 2 cans of water. Boiled maize flour forms the base of their sustenance almost all year round. To avoid intestinal problems caused by the muddy water, the men make a natural medicine. They filter part of the liquid with ash. This makes the water richer in potassium and it acts as anti-diarrhea medicine. Once fed and watered, the men sniff a makeshift drug made up of powdered tobacco.
Le président.
Non, c'est comment on a dit caca. J'ai déjà vu. Pour que notre corps ça soit rapide pour faire le travail. C'est à cause de ça qu'on prenait le tabac.
Ça donne de la force.
Oui, ça nous donne beaucoup de force.
The men get back to work, but it's too late. Zachary will have to spend the night in the village. Draman has also spent the night on the side of the road. To make up for lost time, he speeds through the villages without ever slowing down. The day before, he wasted lots of time stuck in traffic. As night falls, he's been forced to stop due to people blocking the road. Highway bandits who strip travellers of their goods, and police checks cost him even more precious time. In order to live, Draman has to make 2 return journeys to the port of Cotonou every month.
Le patron nous paye des fois 80 000, 70 000. À part ça, on gagne sur la voie. Pour gagner de l'argent, je prends les marchandises pour déposer à quelque part.
And he certainly needs the money. Rahman has 2 children and 3 wives. One whom he lives with in town, and the 2 others live in a village on the other side of the road. When he passes by, they take the opportunity to spend a bit of time together.
Voilà, c'est la femme de mon enfant. Ah, si je gagne de l'argent, bon, je peux marier beaucoup. Je m'arrête parce que je vais les faire descendre ici.
With his 2 wives, Rahman has started a small business reselling coal.
Charbon, mon. Donne-moi charbon. Charbon, ça que veut y aller. Photocarbono. 1500.
The coal will be resold by his wives for double the price in the surrounding villages. Rahman also takes a few bags to resell in restaurants in Cotonou. It's a bit of extra income which helps him provide for his many family members.
De charbon.
This time, Rahman is hoping to arrive at the port of Cotonou before nightfall. The sea is still far away, and his talisman seems to be failing him.
Maintenant, je suis à 50 à l'heure. Si je dépasse comme ça, le vent là va me faire rentrer dans la brousse. Parce que la voie n'a pas été bonne faite. Voilà 2 camions qui viennent et l'autre est en panne dans mon côté. Le chauffeur n'a pas pu guider le camion là. Comme ça, les pneus se sont explosés quoi.
But there's a more serious concern.
Ici là c'est dangereux. Le camion risque de tomber même.
Ah, il va tomber?
Là où nous sommes là, c'est dangereux.
Ah, d'accord.
The truck is slowly tipping over, weighed down by its load of wood which was displaced during the accident.
Bien mesuré pour voir si ça soulève.
In the end, it's the load that saves them.
Même si ça veut tomber, ça peut caler ici quoi. Là, nous sommes sûrs que ça va caler.
As all drivers travel fast, the big risk on this main road is multi-vehicle collisions.
C'est le camion, c'est ceci qui était sur la voie. C'est ceci qui a fait que l'accident s'est produit. C'est ceci qui était déjà sur la route qui n'a pas été enlevé. Si c'était enlevé, celui-ci allait trouver la voie libre
et savoir où passer.
The truck looks fit for the scrap heap, but knowing all too well never to be wasteful, the Beninese have learned to mend and make do.
Le dégât, c'est à ce niveau. C'est au niveau de la plateforme là-bas qui est tombée. Donc il va falloir amener encore à la mécanique pour refaire. Nous allons récupérer ce camion, ça c'est sûr, et l'utiliser aussi sur, bientôt dans le mois qui vient pour le voyage.
Just having passed by the accident, an alarm starts to ring in Draman's cabin.
Il y a un problème dans la pompe.
There's at least one advantage of being on this road. The mechanics are never far away. Within 10 minutes, they arrive with a new pump.
Avec son apprenti.
On the other side of the road, the scenes resemble those of a prison. Prisoners of their own poverty, these men and women break down stone into gravel just to be able to eat. Yarima, who's 25, works here with her children. The gravel is resold to building contractors. Some Beninese people try to change their lives by putting faith in higher beings. Voodoo originated in the heart of the forest through the meeting of the Yoruba gods and the Fon and Yu deities. Over centuries, it has become a religion. These women are dancing for their king and religious leader of the voodoo cult, Dagbo Hunon Huna II. Thanks to voodoo, the king is able to settle issues. The voodoo spirits can bring about justice, predict good or bad omens, and cure problems like relationship disputes. This man is said to have been bewitched by a spirit who's made him be unfaithful. His wife wants to leave him. The priest questions him about this.
Oh, Johnny, Johnny, Iba Ru, Iba Koda, Iba Sheda, Iba Dabatimba Lodi, Iba Lotum, Lossia, no Ruby, no Pomabio, Java, Fifatim Kabu, Dabi. Coutorier, à Jean Hamon, au Rhin, au Ouai. Ah, bon, donc. Allô, oui, mais. Allô. Et donc, fait que avec Bado. Et nous avons fait des plans, nous avons fait des plans, nous avons fait des plans. Mais nous avons volé pour Paris, mais nous avons volé.
The couple's problems are said to have affected their child.
No, what can do? No, Barbara on the point, I did hope for Paris. Fuck and throw, what can do through Futula.
The spirit's talking to the child's mother. It says the wife must keep her mouth shut and not swear at or insult her husband. That way her child's health will improve.
Sur l'enfant. Le sacrifice fera en sorte que la misère n'arrive pas.
As for Draman, he's a king of the road. He's now driving at breakneck speed. Those who stand in his way should beware. He'll stop at nothing to arrive at Cotonou port before nightfall. As for Zakari, he has finished picking up his cotton.
you know.
5 hours for a mere 65 kilometers.
Ça sent là. Oh non. Ah, on gagne la main. Non, non, on va tout nous en connaître à la courroie. Courroie, courroie, mais. Ah non, go. Courroie, comment ça?
But Zachary hasn't been completely unlucky. He's broken down in his own village. After renting a motorbike, he's off in search of a new belt for the truck. His village is on a main road and there's no shortage of DIY stores. There is, however, a shortage of belts. Three hours later, he's ready to head back, but then... The alternator has stopped working. Zachary is forced to call a mechanic. While he waits for the mechanic, Zachary returns home, downhearted. He'll have to admit to his wife that some of his wages have once again ended up in the pocket of a mechanic. She still manages to make him smile, even if just for a few seconds. He can tell from the tarmac on the road that the factory is close. The final piece of bad news of the day arrives in the factory car park. Once again, the factory's running several days behind, leaving the drivers waiting once more.
Bon, nous sommes là depuis une semaine. Ça donne déjà une semaine. Nous sommes ici depuis le vendredi passé.
The delays are costly for drivers like Zachary. While he waits, the cotton harvesting will continue and manufacturers will call upon other drivers to do his job. Another problem with the engine has forced Rahman to once more spend the night at the side of the road. His boss will make up for this extra day by taking it off his salary. Rahman arrives in Cotonou 2 days late, and the huge traffic jams in the big city don't help the situation, and neither does the picky administration office in the port.
Bal coton. Bon, depuis le matin, on est là, on attend les papiers pour aller décharger. Bon, ça nous a pris un peu de temps.
The clock is ticking, and a wave of rebellion descends upon the port.
Pourquoi vous attendez là?
Ah bon, nous sommes des manœuvres, c'est à cause de ça qu'on fait ça là. Parce que ça là, c'est dur. Ah, ils ne sont pas bien payés. Bon. Il faut voir les kilos là. Ça pèse au moins 250, 260 kilos. On prend 128 francs.
Ah ouais, par jour?
Non, pour une seule balle comme ça, 128 francs.
None of the dockers will help.
Qu'on aille vite là. D'accord. Faites vite là, il faut qu'on aille vite débâcher rapidement. Décharge vite, tu as la possibilité d'aller prendre encore un autre chargement. Oui, oui. Et c'est ça, ça vous ralentit et ça ralentit la compétitivité du port autonome de Cotonou aussi. Oui, oui. Voilà.
The reprimanding continues. The coal Draman has transported to make some extra money has made some of the cotton dirty.
C'est pas autorisé. Oui, prenez vos dispositions pour que ça ne se répète plus. D'accord, merci.
Eventually, 2 dockers accept the work. As soon as it's off the truck, the bales of cotton are evaluated by buyers like Jean-Pierre, who's come over from France.
Qu'est-ce que vous faites là?
On regarde la longueur de la soie.
Many of the bales aren't quite up to scratch.
Sur des bonnes qualités, vous voyez là. Avec les bonnes qualités, c'est parce qu'ils font pas attention pour le stockage.
Ça c'est abîmé ça.
Avec la pluie.
Ah oui, d'accord.
Le plastique, à force d'évaluer sur le sol, ça aspire l'humidité et ça devient cartonné.
Benin's cotton is sold all around the world. Draman's decent wage allows him to support his big family. He is polygamous. The driver has just married his 3rd wife and he never denies her anything.
Tout cela là, c'est garde-bol. Peut-être elle peut prendre cela. Si je vois que ça ne va pas, elle peut changer, prendre l'autre. Si elle veut me faire douter, elle prend l'autre. Ah, on a comme le coco. Tu as des bruits.
Abekuru.
Ama, Bekuru. Non. Comme qu'on voit, tu as eu une femme. Bon, merci. Encore. Très bien. Ah, ben, très bien.
Draman drives 7 days a week so he can feed his family. As for Zachary, he only has 1 wife, but his old truck is just as expensive.